All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, this is the Beacon TVL show, the weekly podcast from Beacon DeFi, your beacon in the world of decentralized finance. I'm your host, Professor Chris. We've got a great show to help you as we tackle the news of the week that's relevant to you, our dear users in the world of on-chain investing. And today on the show, we have my good dinner buddy here, friend of the show, Robert Williams. Hire that man. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. It was really great meeting you, IRL.
I know you were a lot taller.
You're
Either
talking,
I'm shrinking or you're getting taller, which is crazy.
yeah. I was taller
Um,
than you expected.
yeah, actually, I was just like, oh, you were a lot taller than I was expecting.
I
It's funny. People,
look smaller in this square.
that must be what it is. I mean, I know a lot of people when they meet other people, like, oh, you were.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess you're taller than I thought, or you're shorter than I thought. So,
That happens.
uh,
Yeah.
it does happen. But yeah, met a lot of great people this week, including yourself. Got to meet up with Keiko, of course. That was good. We all had dinner together with our membership. That was a great dinner. Um, I kind of went ham. We went to Fogo de Chao, which is a Brazilian churrascaria, and kind of kept we neither you or I turned our card over to the red side till like the
Never.
absolute last moment, and I just kept eating. I will say that they undercooked a lot of the meat. Like, I was a little surprised at how undercooked it was.
Yeah, it
In
wasn't.
some cases.
It was a bit much for me, to be honest. I never had so many. I've literally never had so many different varieties of meat in one sitting.
Oh yeah, like for the most part, I had the meat sweats when we got home. People are like, can you go out? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I ate this dinner with no thoughts of going home, going out afterwards in mind. But I know that Keiko left with a big old bottle of wine, and hopefully he had a great time. There was a lot of late night events this ETHDenver. I will say I was a bit curious. Overall, it was a good week. Don't get me wrong. We met a lot of great people. A little light on the swag opportunities, but I did want to take a minute for us to kind of focus on our favorite pieces of swag. I'm wearing the hat from Midnight, which is a layer 1 data availability KYC blockchain. I met them at permissionless, but for me, honestly, man, I think the hats were what was on fire, man. I was really loving the hat game. Although I see that you have a shirt there.
I got story protocol here. The
Yeah,
IP
Story Protocol, the layer 1
and the
branding,
shirt
marketing, IP token
and the shirt.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shirts were pretty. We're not all that great. I was going to show some of these shirts, but not loving it. I see you got the Story Protocol shirt. We
Yeah.
also have the Story Protocol hat, which is this hat right here. Go show your hat there, sir.
Mm.
The IP is programmable. Had a really great talk with them, actually. They gave us some really interesting ideas for publishing some of our content in a decentralized manner through NFTs. So we're actually going to look at doing some of that. So for especially with some of our specific, even like masterclass stuff, we may consider using that platform to monetize and distribute. So we did end up doing the masterclass there live in Denver. I'm still editing the video, so it should be out hopefully later today. I'm hoping. It went really well, in my personal opinion. We talked about bots as well as LP automations. I think that's a topic we haven't really ever covered before, so that was cool. It was a great workshop. Unfortunately, due to some factors beyond our control, we had to cancel the in-person portion, but we did actually live stream it from from Denver. One of my personal favorites was this injective hat. Really love the look on it. I think it's super clean. Really like that. I know, right? I saw that. I was like, oh, nice. I went to a meetup on Tuesday at the One Up Arcade in Lower Downtown in Lodo, and I thought this was Lisk, the Layer 2 super chain. It looks a lot like their logo, but apparently it's Aegis, which is a protocol that does audits. So I really like this. It's corduroy. I'm a big fan of corduroy. Again, the ones I'm holding up, I will be giving away. So if you are interested in a giveaway, please feel free to follow the show. And then my favorite hat of the week, besides the one on my head, pardon me, Say Blockchain put out these camo hats. They are fire. I am loving this look. Oh man, didn't get a chance to meet Say in person, unfortunately, but I was at an event where they were at, and they just had these out there, and they're just like, take them. And I'm like, sweet, I will. Got one for me, got one for the community. Also a big fan. For those of you who saw me in person, we were wearing some Beacon polos. They are one of one because I made them and didn't realize till I got to Denver that the logo was backwards, so they will always be one of one. So, but I think they turned out well. They were a nice little. If you see the masterclass, you'll be able to, and catch that recording, you'll be able to also see that there. So, any highlights for you, Robert, in terms of people that you met that are not on this call currently?
Not on this call. Mm-hmm. I have a long-standing relationship with, or working relationship with Talisman wallet. Really, really slick, awesome wallet. Started off in the Polkadot ecosystem, but smartly switched to EVM chains a couple years ago. And so, yeah, I finally got to meet that team, the CEO and head of products in person, and just reinforced my relationship there. That was really cool.
Nice. Nobody else?
Yeah. Also, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I also was there to check out some DeSci events, Decentralized Science. Shout out to Orasci, Research Hub. DeSci is pretty interesting to me. Yeah. So I think that was really cool to see some of those talks around DeSci.
Yeah. Give me a quick rundown of everything that you saw. What were probably the two or three biggest talking points you could pull away from the DeSci I guess presentations? Because I unfortunately was unable to meet to go to those, but I wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to a DeSci event was hosted at the museum, Denver Museum.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Modern art, yeah. And the main theme there was just how to first of all, how to onboard researchers. The big benefit of DeSci being how to kind of break through barriers of bureaucracy and politics and academia, and funding as well. So a lot of that, I mean, the aim there is to kind of set up a platform where researchers can get their funding crowdfunded, or they get funding from different sources in the space, and and be able to publish their research with all that red tape, like much more expediently. And so, yeah, I think that's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, and I think zero knowledge proofs is something that is going to be a huge boon to researchers, because they're going to have they're going to have easier ways for researchers to onboard their findings without really just being hamstrung by the fact that they may be in a country where there is no freedom of publishing. So I do think that's something that's going to be really important moving forward, is with the advent of zero knowledge proofs, and especially in DeSci, the ability for more, like obviously Bioprotocol, probably the biggest group in this space right now, with their umpteen number of DAOs with various publishing groups, and of course they're picked up by Binance, so they have plenty of money there. So definitely DeSci, based on what I've seen, based on what you're telling me, definitely not going away. Could definitely be an industry to look out for, especially if you're looking for a DeFi based culture to kind of find some investment opportunities. And I think that's going to be really exciting to see what happens next.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of that talk, there was a presence there from ZK people,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I will say, for me, I think one of my favorite things that I got to do, and you'll have to bear with me, this is a very poor photo. I didn't realize that, being at night and whatnot. But the first night that I was there at ETHDenver, we got to meet Lou Kerner, who is the founder of Crypto Mondays. And I've been going to Crypto Mondays events here and there as they happen at different conferences, but I am looking to bring one of these out here locally to my area in the Nebraska and Iowa area. So if you're interested in having a Monday get together, and Crypto Mondays happens once per month around the world. They happen to have one there in Denver. Got to meet the founder. He loves what we do at Beacon. Really cool. There's probably like 300 or 400 people there at this event. This is myself and Steve, our membership and director, here with Lou Kerner. It was really great to shake his hand, get to talk, and really tell him our story at Beacon, and really just got introduced to a lot of great people off of that. So great event, good place to meet with a lot of people who frankly don't know anything about DeFi, which was refreshing, right? Because we go to ETHDenver, there's a lot of DeFi based protocols, but there's a lot of people who come to these events who know nothing about DeFi. And that, I think that also happened quite a bit with the Bitcoin events. Bitcoin was very much a very large presence at ETHDenver, specifically before the main event. There were multiple Bitcoin events. We went to the BitVM event right after this. In fact, I met a gentleman here at Crypto Mondays. His name is Fitzy, and he told me a lot of the things they're working on, specifically building on top of layer 1 Bitcoin. So the issue with Bitcoin and DeFi is that Bitcoin was never really architected to be a DeFi asset. It is by far the most difficult asset to easily put into the DeFi ecosystem because it will never be native Bitcoin. It'll always be some sort of derivative. So meeting protocols, Tap protocol is one. Well, I'll put some links to them in the show notes today. They're a layer 1 meta protocol built on top of Bitcoin Taproot, which is the layer 1 Bitcoin proof of work, where they're actually building a DEX and some other things that are actually not just off-chain indexers. They're building a real ecosystem. So in addition to Stacks, which was also a big part of that show, as well as BOB, which is build on Bitcoin, a layer 2 that's in the OP superchain. Good to see a lot of those groups there. Orange Coin was well represented at the ETHDenver conference. In fact, that's probably the number one thing that a lot of people were really upset about, is that I think Max Resnick was there, and he literally had a talk about how ETH is cooked on the main stage at ETHDenver, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise. But there's a lot of featuring of, not specifically layer 1 Ethereum projects talking about what they're bringing into the ecosystem. Chains like Sui, chains like AVAX, and some of these others that, obviously have EVM compatibility to a degree, but aren't necessarily layer 1 Ethereum facing. Barachain and Phantom Sonic had very large presences here, which was great. I did get to meet, one of my contemporaries, not that, Patrick from Dynamo DeFi, long time.
Nice.
What's that?
You saw him there? Nice.
Yeah, got to meet him and Steven, the calculator guy, two guys that I've spoken with, not in person for, multiple years, and finally got to shake their hands and, kind of tell them what their content means to me as a content creator. So a lot of us have been around a long time, and shout out, of course, to Taiki Maeda, who's probably the nexus of many of us in this space, specifically from the Beacon side. So pardon me. But I did get to, I don't even know how they created this. Gary Gensler, I don't even know what you would call it. I'm not sure what these things are coming out of Gary Gensler. It's frightening. But I'm trying to, this was at the digital asset event that Linea put on for layer 2s. Did get to, we'll talk about Linea in just a little bit, did get to speak with Declan Fox, head of ecosystem at Linea and friend of the show. We're going to have him on soon to talk more about things like that. The only other things I remember was got to meet with a lot of people that I saw at Permissionless in Salt Lake City, which was great. Member dinner with you and our other partners, also great. And man, Uber drivers made a killing. I don't know how they got it so that most of the events were hard to just walk to, but Ubers were at a premium last week.
Taking like 5 Ubers a day at least.
Yeah, man. I tell you what. But Barachain, hats off to Barachain, hats off to my lady. or Remilio, they just they put on some great parties, man. I definitely felt that I was way too old to be at the majority of these parties.
I'm not that much younger than you, but still.
I know. I felt super old being at these at some of these parties, but it was a good time. Got to connect with a lot of people, met some really interesting up and coming protocols. Some that I'll talk about within our mastermind group specifically. Got some great alpha on a couple specific protocols, and we're going to talk about that on our market making liquidity call later today. But thanks, Robert, for coming to ETHDenver. Thanks for meeting up with us, and also, just being a cool dude.
Yeah,
appreciate you, man.
Likewise. Yeah, it was really great meeting you and the whole squad.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Market was weird while we were in Denver. Like literally, my people asked, "Have you looked at your portfolio?" I'm like, "No, I know how bad it is, and I'm not looking at it because it's just."
If you don't look at it, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's again when we talk about this, right? It's like we know where the market will be going. There are certain things we can and cannot control, right? And the number of people who are choosing to sell based off liquidations, based off of whatever else is just staggering. In fact, we'll talk about the other thing that's a big issue while we look here at bubbles, is that on Monday, the day that I'm getting ready to fly out, and suddenly, President Trump puts out a huge tweet, specifically about, is this it? Nope. I have one here somewhere. Anyway, he puts out a post about how he's looking to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, not a Bitcoin reserve, a strategic crypto asset reserve that includes ADA, Sol, and XRP. ADA jumps 3x in literally an hour. I mean, ultimately, the biggest sign of market manipulation that I think I've heard in a long time. Regardless, he then posts an hour later saying, of course, I just want to reiterate my love for Bitcoin and ETH. And the market then just starts to tank in really interesting ways. I think the part that really just kind of was the cherry on top for me, I don't know if you saw it. It was specifically the issue that someone had put in a 50x short on ETH right before the announcement, and then made like 7 gazillion in profit. I mean, the ultimate definition of insider trading, right? So, with that said, that was Monday. Tariffs went into effect. Market tanked. S&P 500 went all kinds of ugly. Seems that there could be some movement with tariffs, but one thing that President Trump has talked about is that there's going to be a first ever White House crypto summit on March 7th. That's Friday for you guys. It's scheduled it's an evening conference, so 6:30 to 10:30, so plenty of manipulation and news to come out before then. It's going to be 25 participants, including we've talked about this, Robert, the Presidential Working Group on Digital Assets. That includes multiple heads of different cabinet appointees that have been confirmed, including Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, 2 very pro-crypto people. You also have the heads of the SEC, the CFTC, I believe also the head of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, will also be there. Multiple people that are going to be there. Now, you can't really read this, so I'll bring up this other tweet. These are the confirmed list. Yeah, Bo Hines, David Sachs, Brad Garlinghouse from XRP, obviously Michael Saylor from Strategy with BTC, Paulo Arduino from the head of Tether will be there. Kyle Samani from Multicoin Capital will be there. Kathy Wood from ARK. Charles Hoskinson from ADA. Anatoly Yakovenko, the head of the Solana Foundation. Of course, Vitalik Buterin from ETH. Nat Eliasson from Ondo. Mark Andreessen, a gentleman who's been doing a lot of legwork for the Trump administration behind the scenes. Paul Atkins, the SEC chair. Brian Armstrong, of course, from Coinbase. And CZ, former head of Binance. Interesting that he's going and not Binance's CEO. But do you have any thoughts on this list, sir?
I mean, it's a list of the usual suspects. I mean, it's like the same names that have been in rotation for the past few months as he announced his cabinet and all that, and appointees and all that. I think the name that stands out to me the most is probably Charles Hoskinson.
Mm-hmm.
No offense to any ADA holders out there, but I just think ADA is a strange choice for the reserve and for this too. You know?
Now I know it's ETHDenver. And of course, no offense to ADA holders as well, or XRP holders. But the amount of vitriol that I heard from people, if you mentioned ADA or XRP in Denver last week, was fairly quite immense. There are a lot of people that don't like ADA and they don't like XRP. Fine with Sol, fine with BTC, but not ADA and XRP. So interesting to see where things go from there. But the vitriol that I was hearing from people, they're like, don't ever mention XRP to me again. And I mean, I thought that was wild. Go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, in my view, I mean, obviously XRP has always been like the sellout coin because it's like, it's been always in bed with banks and so forth. And so, I mean, maybe sellout's a harsh term, but it's been like the institutional coin since its inception, basically. So that's why it's kind of people in the crypto community don't feel like it's part of their team,
right?
And then ADA. I mean, from my perspective, ADA is just it's been around for almost 10 years. I mean, about as long as Ethereum, right? And it just hasn't done anything, as far as I can tell. I mean, it's done. It's had upgrades and it's had announcements and so forth, but it's just one of those projects where it's obviously going somewhere, but it's just I don't know. How do you feel about ADA?
I had a good conversation with someone from Remix, which is a smart contract platform that's web-based, specifically for Solidity. And we were talking about development, myself being in IT for many years, and we got talking about ADA and just about the most interesting choices that they had for choosing Haskell as a smart contract language. Now, they may pivot and go back to EVM or even have Rust or something else at some time, but from a technical standpoint, I think them choosing, in my personal opinion, no offense to Haskell programmers, if you happen to bring a smart contract language and you want to have Web 2 developers come down, you don't choose what's the equivalent of, in my opinion, Sanskrit to develop. You choose something that everybody else is using. Even C++ would have been a fine choice. WebAssembly, which is WASM, which is what a lot of the industry uses, especially on the Aptos Solana movement side. Even JavaScript's an option if you use something like Agoric, for example, which is a Cosmos-based blockchain that uses JavaScript as an acceptable smart contract language choice. I just don't see where Haskell should have been the reason why they went with that. But regardless, they're making their choices. Can they go back and change that? Sure. It'll be interesting to see where we go from here. What I will say is that I'll bring up this specific chart from Miles Deutscher. And I want to bring this up specifically for, the one thing that President Trump has talked about is trying to make the U.S. the leader in U.S. crypto. I didn't realize that AVAX was technically a U.S. company. That's news to me. But then again, they're probably based in New York City. But what I don't want to see is crap like Trump and Melania coin going into the strategic Bitcoin or the strategic digital asset reserve. I've heard rumors that Trump is probably going to be in there, and if that happens, I'm just going to die laughing. Because I'm just like, there's no reason to have a coin with no utility other than support for the president as the utility. That's not what you need that for. But there's a lot of coins in here that are interesting that are made in the USA, such as the Graph, Blur, Mina, Helium, Uniswap, Stacks, LivePeer, Ape Chain or Apecoin Chain.
Yeah, they're not. Are they showing RSR there too? Is it RSR?
I don't see RSR on here. They may possibly be BVI or something like that. I'm not sure, but that doesn't mean they can't move to the United States and create a new headquarters there, because I do believe that what we're going to see on Friday is pretty much going to be the framework of what will happen over the next 12 months. I don't think the reserve comes anytime soon, which will probably cause the market to, frankly, go down a little bit. Obviously, not financial advice. Do your own research. But we will stay on top of it, and we'll see exactly how things play out on Friday and how it matters to you, which we'll talk about next week on this show as well. With that said, we want to make a quick segue, of course, to our free group. If you are looking to learn about decentralized finance or just want an option on being more educated in this space based on what you're seeing here today, please join our free group, Total Value Locked from Beacon DeFi, school.com/Beacon. Join the hundreds and now almost thousands of people who are coming here to learn about decentralized finance, making the right decisions, following us, and learning from the best in the business on how to make all the moves to make the generational transfers of wealth that you hear about with decentralized finance. Yeah. Oh, and I keep forgetting to mention this. We are, of course, looking to hit some milestones. Of course, if you could follow us on Twitter, if you like what you're seeing, follow us on YouTube. If you're watching us on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. We are very close to some milestones that we would like to hit. Please tell your friends, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications and all of that. Of course, if you want to learn from the best of the best, come to our free group again, Total Value Locked, school.com/Beacon. Another thing that was interesting is that when I was leaving the Injective booth, it was on, I think it was Saturday. I thought it was a very strange moment that BitBoy walks up. Literally, BitBoy, Ben Armstrong, former gigantic crypto shiller, walks up. Dude has, obviously is wearing, Burberry, but dude had a black eye, and he had security detail with him, and he sat down and talked to this lovely BD person. Shouts out to you, Vivian, at Injective, or marketing, I think. In any case, wild. And people were starting to crowd around. I didn't really want to cause a scene because, the man's been in some bare knuckle fights. I would rather not. Not that I don't want that smoke. It's just I got better things to do with my time, ultimately. But yeah, that was definitely the cherry on top for me. I was like, first of all, what is BitBoy doing here? And what's he doing at the Injective booth of all places? With that said, Injective is doing some things. Got to talk to them. They are coming out with more EVM facing initiatives. But to answer your question, Karen, ETH is not made in America, no. But yeah, the fact that BitBoy was there was just, and he had security detail. Well, it was wild. I was just like, what is this life?
What happened with the fight thing? Who did he fight again, or what happened there with the?
I forgot who he fought. It wasn't Handsome. Was it Handsome?
It was like a planned boxing match, right?
Yeah. He's done 2 of them. He won the first one. I didn't think he did Karate Combat from Hedera. And then he did another one on Celebrity Boxing, and I believe he won that fight. I mean, he came in looking, no lie. I mean, he's always reminded me of Zach Galifianakis, and he came in, looking like a bulldog about to be released from a leash. The man went after the guy, and he made the most of his time. Got to give him props.
Did he fight Eric Crown? No.
I'll be honest. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. But
okay.
Yeah, the fact that he was there and he had a hood on and he was trying to stay very, very incognito, even with his security dude with him, very tall, very Eastern European dude, who has hands out like this the entire time, just making sure nobody tried to get too close to him. Anyway, in front of the very sick injective hat. But yeah, that was pretty nuts. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with this crypto policy, specific policy. My guess is that any company who is in this sphere won't be paying taxes or business taxes, capital gain taxes, or might even receive tax breaks by being a U.S. based company. I mean, obviously, the biggest winners of the Trump presidency is definitely XRP and some of these others. Where is XRP? Right there. XRP and ADA, definitely two of the biggest winners of Trump becoming president. So we'll see what happens. Coinbase, of course, is another big winner. We'll see where we go from here with that. And let's go back to the agenda. So yeah, that's Friday, March 7th. And we'll hear more about that crypto reserve specifically on Friday. So we'll see where we go from there. We'll go ahead and talk about something in DeFi real quick, and that is our friends at Pendle. This came out today. This is, in my personal opinion, fairly big news. Pendle is opening up. Now, what does that mean? That's a great question. So let me just pull up Pendle really quickly. Pendle is a great DeFi protocol, technically what we call a credit default swap protocol, but specifically the one thing that Pendle brings is the very simple ability to speculate on yield, which I've always thought to be a very interesting concept. They have they take a pool token or just a token from a protocol, and we call that the SY token. And then what they do is they wrap it and then break it off into two parts, which is the PT, which is the value of that token after a specific amount of time. In this case, this is 84 days for this WST KSC USD, which I believe is from Rings protocol on Phantom Sonic. So if you hold this token for 84 days, you'll receive 14.1% on your money back on your investment, which is fine. That's what we call the fixed token. That's a great rate. Now, if you want to speculate on the yield, you can certainly do that. In fact, let's see if there's a really good YT sitting here. All right, Ether5 BTC, 21 days, roughly 13,000. Now, the closer you get to the end of that maturity date, the lower this number gets. So this is very much a very speculative way to speculate on yield, which is something that I think is fascinating, something that people have talked about for many years on wanting to do, but never really knew how. And that's where Pendle has really got its claim to fame. They specifically came up and into the top 5 protocols of DeFi in late 2023, thanks to EigenLayer and liquid restaked ETH tokens. They were really just the easiest way to farm EigenLayer points, as well as earn lots of yield in excess of 30 to 40% on liquid staked or liquid restaked ETH. And that carried them all the way into February of 2024, where Pendle's had a fantastic year. So they are now, according to this tweet, they are now opening up the markets because ultimately this list is curated. So they come through and they find specific assets, and of course you can filter on here. Like they recently just did LPs with Virtual and CBBTC off of Aerodrome, where you can get 40% if you just hold the token, or you can speculate and get 172%, which is great too. And that's based off of Aerodrome. The next step is now to have permissionless pools, meaning anyone can create a Pendle pool with an asset. The first one that's going to be talked about is specifically SUSDX, which is from USDX Money. Don't know a whole lot about them, to be quite honest. It's from Stables Labs. Didn't see them in Denver, but they will be the first open community-based pool to come onto Pendle. So after years of seeing, specifically Pendle-based or Pendle curated assets, we're now going to start seeing a lot of random assets coming into, what is going to be the next generation of Pendle. Now we still have V3, or the new bolt-on, which is called Boros, coming onto Pendle soon as well, where you'll be able to not only speculate on yield, but speculate on funding rates, which is going to be a very interesting nuance into the Pendle ecosystem. So very excited to see more about that. Hopefully we can get someone from the Pendle team onto the show to really describe and explain to our viewers why they would really like to go long or short on funding rates for any of these assets. So just wanted to kind of get your take on this at all, if you have any takes, Robert, on this. Is a very interesting move on something that's a top 5 DeFi protocol with ever having permissionless pools, now starting to have them. So could be some interesting moves here on some of these coins.
Yeah, I think most protocols like this are curated, and so it is interesting to see. I mean, what do you think is the main driving decision behind this?
Honestly, TVL. Yeah, they want to try and open this up. They've been battle testing this system for 3 years now. So the ability for any big protocol, and I'm going to assume, and that's a big assumption on my part, that they're going to have a vetting process on this, right? They're going to definitely make sure that, the next major shit coin isn't going to be coming on to Pendle with a market where you can, get PT and YT. It has to be, there probably needs to be protocols that are well over like a specific amount of TVL, like let's say 100 million locked, in order for them to be able to set up a pool. Then again, it's meant to be permissionless and fairly decentralized. So, I mean, it could really be just opening up the floodgates. Yeah, I think TVL is probably the main mover here, especially now that they have LPs available as SY tokens, where you can do PT and YT breaks here. Yeah, I'm excited to see exactly, because they only have these 7 chains available. Just kind of seeing what happens here, especially if they need to. I don't know why Bearchain's not on here, because they've been pushing Bearchain for a minute.
I wonder if they have any requirements around how long they need, a pool needs to lock up liquidity for. So you don't have people just come popping.
Exactly. Yeah. So for anybody who's familiar with TradFi, the best way to describe the PT is like a coupon bond, if you know how that mechanism works, as well as the YTs, which is speculating on the yield portion of that token, is more like the cash and carry bond. So not quite like it, but just a form of it. Yeah, I'm very interested to see where this goes. Again, this was talked about this morning, and for many people who've been following us in our group for a while, we're big fans of Pendle. We do like what Pendle has been doing. We have multiple members in our group who are longtime Pendle holders. So yeah, this could be in a time where there's a lot of great altcoins and ETH BTC beta plays to purchase. I don't think Pendle is a bad play here. Obviously not financial advice, do your own research, but I think Pendle could be, especially now they're opening up permissionless, that should drive more value to the Pendle token overall, to be honest, because you'll be able to get better yields locked in if you lock up some Pendle under VE Pendle. Now they may I don't think they'll change the tokenomics of VE Pendle, but looking at the fees, yeah, I think definitely that's the one thing too, is I think they'll definitely start building more of a flywheel, Robert, with the ability to have, third parties come in and have their own Pendle pools, because clearly a lot of people use Pendle. My gosh, $500,000 in fees since last week, with VE Pendle historical APR at 57. That's a fantastic rate if you're a Pendle locker, and you normally have to lock for 2 years at Pendle. So we'll see where we go from here. But this does open up. This opens up the door for, protocols looking to gain some attention, because that's clearly what. If I was a protocol and I didn't have a ton of TVL, I would be going to Pendle first. Pendle, I'd go to Pendle, go to Beefy, some of these other large scale AMM marketplaces that will give me a lot of, frankly, a lot of advertisement, because a lot of people use these protocols. So if you have it open and anyone can get in there, then I think that's kind of a no-brainer.
I wonder if some of the other projects will follow suit. Yeah, somewhere down the line.
Exactly. I think for sure, and it's probably here. Let me look at the overview. Nope. If we just go by Phantom Sonic. All right, so Rings Protocol with SCUSD and SCETH. We had a very nice talk with the founder of Shadow Exchange on Phantom Sonic.
I was just gonna mention Shadow, actually.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of what we do at Beacon, and we're gonna most likely collaborate together moving forward. I could definitely see them coming here, and putting some of like Liquid Staked S and some of these other tokens out here under the guise of just getting more eyes on the product, because that's really what they're out to do. So yeah, shout out to 24, the founder of Shadow Exchange. Looking forward to talking more with you, sir. But yeah, so Pendle opening up their pools in a more permissionless way, I think very bullish, specifically for Pendle, but also for all of DeFi. We keep hearing rumblings. DeFi is going to have a beautiful DeFi summer coming up with all of this movement specifically. So we will be, of course, watching with a very close eye on this. We already talked about Pump.Fun already having their AMM the week before ETHDenver. I do think we're going to see some interesting moves on all ecosystems moving forward, because at least that was the story that I saw. Interoperability is going to be a very big part of what's coming soon to DeFi. So I don't know if you saw that as well, Robert, but I definitely saw a lot of interoperability talk happening at the conference.
Yeah, that was kind of a big sentiment there.
Agreed. And happy birthday to Kelly.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday on Friday. Enjoy that day. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Well, we'll talk about that last. MetaMask had a fairly large following, if you want to call it that, at ETHDenver. As you can see, they've kind of changed the look of what's going on. Pardon me. As you know, we prefer Rabi, which is built on top of MetaMask code. I did speak with a friend of the show, Declan Fox, at one of the events, the event that I showed you with beautiful Garina Gensler right there, outside there. And they had street teams on the ground. Did you see them at all? The street teams?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so they now have this debit card. We've talked about this in the past. Where as long as it's powered by MasterCard. I like the metal one. That's nice. There were street teams giving out these cards to people at ETHDenver if you saw them on the street. Ultimately, what's that?
I wish I had.
Yeah, me too. I already have mine, so I can't say that. If I had one to give it to the community. 1 second. All right. If you want to have a MetaMask card, all you really have to do is bridge funds over to the Linea blockchain, which is the zero knowledge layer 2 from Consensus. I believe they take ETH and USDC and USDT as the only forms of payment that you can settle in your account. I believe it does settle in USDC. You can check your MetaMask wallet specifically at portfolio.metamask.io. Then you'll see if you're eligible, you'll see something that says card on the left-hand side, and you can learn more about how to deposit and do more of that. But they've done a couple new things. Snaps is still there. They still have Snaps, which is basically add-ons that you can create, almost like web extensions on your browser. They have extensions in their wallet, and they go to things like, for example, Wallet Guard and Blockade were two very long-standing security-focused snaps inside of MetaMask. They're now included in the main code base. But now they actually have Bitcoin and Solana support. So before you had to have a snap to take your seed phrase and generate a Solana address, or a Bitcoin, Bitcoin, I think Lightning address, a BC1Q address. But now they're natively available within the wallet. This is all part of their roadmap for the year. Again, I'm hoping that you'll see more of this specifically in Rabby. Since Rabby is built on top of MetaMask, they'll take a lot of this and most likely just give it, just a nice shine on top. That doesn't mean that MetaMask still isn't a great wallet. We love MetaMask. It's just there's just so much, there's better. It's just been a better overall experience with Rabby. Plus, the gas account is such a game changer. But I do like what I'm seeing here. So, are you you're a long time MetaMask user, right, Robert?
Yeah, but I have to shout out Talisman because I've been a Talisman contributor and user for a long time too. Talisman, they're known originally for Polkadot, but they're actually a little bit of alpha here. They're gonna do some really cool partnerships with Sonic and Beats, which is on Sonic also.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I'll be sharing more of that stuff on future episodes. But yeah, and of course I've used MetaMask for a long time. Since early 2020, at least.
Yeah. Kelly question: Does the card charge fees? To my knowledge, yes. I don't know how much it is though. It's probably pretty small. Like I use my Coinbase card quite a bit. That you literally just send USDC up to Coinbase, and then you can use your Coinbase debit card to then settle that, and it works really well. You can also add it as if you're an iOS user to your Apple Wallet, and you can settle payments that way.
I think these self-custody cards are really cool though, because occasionally Coinbase is kind of buggy or it's down.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the support is extremely iffy sometimes on Coinbase. So I'm also curious to see how the support will work for these two.
Yeah, and ultimately, this is an interesting idea that Abstract Global Wallet and Sui and some others have already done, which is abstracting the cost of gas away from the user. So that part's cool. Having to not worry about gas because it's probably going to be subsidized in some other operation is probably good. For example, quotes include a 7/8 MetaMask fee. There we go. That's where the gas went. That's why you don't have to pay for gas, because you're paying 7/8 if you're using MetaMask Swap. Yeah, that's why we don't love using Rabby Swap. That's why we still recommend DeFi Llama and their swap, because you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, these are all great things overall for Rabby. When it comes to new users, just to answer Kelly's question, why we still recommend Rabby over MetaMask, there's just so many nuances about having to operate an EVM, such as having to add chains to the wallet, which MetaMask has come back with a better edition for. Ultimately, it's just easier to use Rabby overall, just better, more intuitive interface, especially for new users. A lot of the pains that we had with MetaMask, most people don't see with Rabby. In my opinion, at least. And I used all of it. I use all of the wallets. I haven't used Talisman yet, but I've used Leap, used Phantom for EVM, Coinbase wallet, multiple wallets. And in my opinion, Rabby, for the everyday newest user coming into DeFi, by far the best experience. And now that they have the gas account, which allows you to pay for gas using stablecoins, it's a game changer. No need to worry about having gas on a specific chain. Now, you still should, just in case, because there are some protocols that won't let you transact if you don't have any gas account, if you don't have any gas on that chain in your wallet, but you literally just need less than $1 in most of those cases. So yeah, good on MetaMask for doing this. This is good to see. Hopefully the experience gets better. I personally haven't used MetaMask's mobile app in quite some time, but hopefully it's pretty decent because I've used Rabbi's and it's fine. So
yeah, give Talisman a spin at some point.
I will. In fact, we should have them on this show.
We can, for sure.
Let's have them on the show.
I'll bring on the CPO and we can talk about the new Sonic partnerships.
What did you say? Sonic?
Sonic, yeah.
As in Phantom Sonic has a partnership with Talisman?
We're working on it.
Nice. I like that. All right. Well, yeah. So congrats to the MetaMask team. Obviously, congrats to everyone Consensus. They're making improvements to MetaMask. And then the article we were just looking at was written by Dan Bailey, who is the original dev behind MetaMask. So MetaMask isn't going anywhere. So for those of you who still use MetaMask, you should see the fruits of all of that labor fairly soon. Let me just make sure there isn't anything. Oh, so let's talk about the last thing. Man, last week was a bummer. Specifically in the with the Bybit hack. I was told very early on that they were able to eat the cost of everything, so that part's good. They even went back and bought a ton of ETH on the backside. Sadly, and unfortunately, the Lazarus Group was able to wash the rest of the ETH through Thorchain. Now, a lot of people are up in arms about this, to be quite honest. There's even been a dev and a validator that left Thorchain, the network, as a result. I mean, Thorchain was doing what it was architected to do, which is a swap between two assets. In a permissionless world, in a trustless world, you don't know where the money is coming from, right? So there has to be better action specifically on the CEX side to stop them. Now, JP Thor, the founder of Thorchain, did mention that all of the wallets that belong to Lazarus Group that they know of based off OFAC, none of those wallets were represented in these transactions. So I think the issue is that any specific group who was looking to challenge that did not give any of those wallets up sooner. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate, but, it happened.
Are those OFAC wallets publicly listed, or they have to be presented?
What's that?
Are those OFAC wallets publicly listed, or they have to be presented?
I believe they're publicly listed.
Mm.
I would not be. I mean, I would think that they'd be publicly listed, at least to protocols.
Yeah, so, for them to be able to locate them, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, crypto regulation is going to be needed for things like this. Ultimately, I've had a lot of conversations. Did you have conversations about DeFi and crypto with your Uber drivers, Robert?
Uber drivers?
Yeah. Did they happen to talk to you about crypto or DeFi?
Not this time, no.
Every single one of them talked to me about crypto and DeFi because I was always wearing Beacon gear, right? So we had some interesting conversations, specifically all the ones who drove me from somewhere in lower downtown up to the venue, because there's at least 10 minutes there. Found a lot of interesting just takes on what people understand and don't understand about digital assets and how digital-based money works. There's a lot of people still grounded in the idea that the only money that is worth anything is the money that you can hold here, in your fingers. So with some people we had to talk about, rehypothecation of funds when you deposit them into the bank and what happens to your money after you deposit it and how much is really in your bank account. Ultimately, that money was never yours to be, anyway, I could go on and on. Regardless. Yeah, we certainly love our banks here, don't we? Yeah, a lot of interesting takes on on money from the last week, from meeting with a lot of these Uber drivers, just hearing the ethos, understanding how people really kind of see the world. And there's a lot of work that the Ethereum Foundation kind of has to do over the next year, I think. We do have I didn't put on the agenda, but Pectra is in past Sepolia. Then once they get to Whole Sky, they should be pretty much ready to go with the next hard fork, which is the Prague and Electra update. I'm not sure when it's going to happen. It'll be later on this year, but we'll see some interesting additions with that. Ultimately, Susan, Kelly, you're right. A lot of these entities are not going away. They can't, right? Because people want money. People still hold money in jars in their yards or in their mattress or under their floorboards across the world. Banks are still necessary entities. We're going to see some regulation, I think, over the next couple of years. But if, a lot of influential people get their way, like Larry Fink from BlackRock, who I met some members of the team from BlackRock at ETHDenver. That was another highlight for myself. They want to bring everything on chain. They want to tokenize everything. Anything that can be tokenized, quote unquote, democratized, is going to be brought on chain. And that's the goal. They want everything digitized. They want everything tokenized, so they can bring everything on chain so that they can, I don't know, stop the manipulation.
So they can control the rails.
Yeah, of course. They always want to control the rails. And it's interesting because I get a lot of people asking about, hey, what are your thoughts about HBAR? What are your thoughts about XRP? These are all crypto that are going to be deeply involved in the way that money around the world is transmitted. And as long as they have an active role there, they'll be in the ethos of crypto and digital assets. That's my take on it. Because they're a valid form of EDI, electronic data exchange, specifically for money. So as long as that's the case, they're going to be around. So we'll see. I'm hoping to possibly go to the XRP conference in June so we can learn more, because my guess is they'll be unveiling the smart contract language and everything that needs to be talked about for XRP DeFi and XRP Ledger, which is their network of quote unquote blockchain based activities. Trying to think if there's anything in particular that really struck me with regards to interesting things I saw at ETHDenver. It was fairly, I guess the word I would use is subdued. There wasn't a ton of crazy things being said. Unfortunately, they actually shut down the venue well before the hackathon results. So I'll be honest, we didn't get a chance to check out the hackathon results. I'm definitely going to look into that, and we'll talk more about that, because I do think there's a lot of really cool ideas, at least that I saw in the Biddle Hub, in the Biddle Zone, which was in a separate part from the main event. There are a lot of teams working on a lot of different tracks. There was more than $1 million up for bounties. So I'm curious to see what's being built. We did meet a couple of dev teams while we were there, but they were very heads down and not really wanting to talk about what they're building just yet. But we'll see.
Yeah, I do feel like the side events this year were way more prominent than the main events. What do you think? Like in the main, like in Sport Castle, which is one of the main areas there.
Yeah. Most teams that I know never went to the main event, which I think is a first for me.
That's how I felt too.
Yeah, a lot of side events happened, whether it be RWAs, whether it was Solana, BTC, anything with novel importance in DeFi, they weren't really at the main event. One thing we'll be putting out is a great interview we had with one of our members. We actually just took the Euler booth. We had a really cool, like, gold and red velvet plush couch that they just left. I mean, they literally were gone by 2:00 on Saturday. Like, no one was there. I mean, it was just crazy how it was like a ghost town at 2:00 on Saturday, which was crazy for ETHDenver. Like I mentioned, light on the swag because there just wasn't a lot of people in the main event. There were, don't get me wrong, there were plenty of people in the main event. There were some gaming activations. The podcast section was huge. They had like 8 booths for podcasts. We did try and see if we can get the TVL show signed up to record, but unfortunately everything was full. That's fine because I think they wanted like 10 grand for anybody who wanted to record at the studio. I'm like, I'm okay. But we met a lot of great people, a lot of great teams. I'm excited for what's coming up. I know a lot of teams went to GDC in San Francisco this week. That's what's on tap here. Not everyone's going to the mountain retreat. A lot of people looking forward to BTC 2025 in Las Vegas in May. So that's where I think you'll see us next. I might be going to another event before then, but we definitely have our eye as Beacon to go check out and be a presence at Bitcoin 2025 in Las Vegas. So that's at the end of May. Hopefully we'll see many of you there. Let me know if you're coming. We'll try and figure out what we do there. You gonna come to BTC 2025, or is that kind of outside your bubble?
I'm considering it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be at the Venetian. And the Venetian knows how to throw a conference, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you that from experience. So should be a nice time at the Venetian. If you are looking to join them, probably tens of thousands of people that will be there, especially after what happens on Saturday. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting news and a lot of hype about BTC 2025, specifically if they get the strategic Bitcoin reserve announced and exactly what's going to go into that reserve. So,
yeah, I mean,
our drink's still free in Las Vegas. Yeah, generally, as long as you don't ask for more than 3 in a 20-minute period. I guess it just depends on where you go.
Yeah, I mean, because MetaMask is also now offering native BTC support, right?
Yes. Yep. That is one thing that they are doing because they have the Bitcoin network in. Also, one thing we talked about before we came in, I talked to marketing at Hyperliquid middle of last week. I asked specifically about Hyper Unit, which is a portion coming to the Hyper EVM that has native Bitcoin deposits in. So you can actually deposit native Bitcoin into Hyperliquid L1. I'm going to see how that kind of works out. If there's like staking for that, because generally on the spot market for Hyperliquid, you can only deposit USDC, native USDC. So I believe that's still going to be the case, but maybe they change things now that Hyper EVM is a thing and people are starting to move over. So next couple of weeks, I think, in this space are going to be very interesting. As we round out Q1, is there are multiple protocols that are moving over to Hyper EVM. They said Q1, so obviously they have the next 3 weeks to really just kind of push and go into that. So we'll see what happens, and yeah, we'll move on from there. So anyway, that's all we had for today. Robert, superstar DJ, crypto man, friend of Talisman Wallet, hire this man. Cat lover. Hey, look at little man go. Oh, she got big. He or she, right?
He got big. Yeah, he got big, right? Like in the past 2 weeks.
My goodness. There was 2 weeks ago that we saw you, sir. And look at you now.
Yeah, he's a little teenager now.
Yeah. Well, I heard that after 2 years, they're technically 24 years old in cat years. So
oh wow.
After 1 year, they're 15. So yeah, big moves on that gentleman. So excited to see him grow over the next couple of months. Thanks for showing him again. So go ahead and plug whatever you'd like to plug, sir. Thanks for being with us here today.
I'm going to be plugging Talisman Wallet today.
Talisman Wallet. Love it.
Yeah, I've been a contributor to them for since their inception in 2021. And so, I'm looking to build further inroads with the team. Let's see how that goes. And, check it out.
Exactly.
Got some cool partnerships coming up. With Sonic and Beats, BEETS.
Yep, for Beethoven X. Yep.
And
love it.
Once I have more news, I'll be updating that more in the future.
Excellent. Also, just wanted to say thanks to our Beacon founding members and Beacon Mastermind members and Beacon Accelerator members for helping make what we do possible. Again, join us for free if you want to learn from the best in the business. Total value locked. at school.com/beacon. Completely free. Get started, get working, and get on the way back on the road to DeFi. So check it out. Again, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. Tell all your friends. Met a lot of great educators this week, I must say. I met at least 5 people who are also educators in the space. A lot smaller scale than what we do. But it was nice to meet with fellow educators. Obviously, we want to support educators as much as possible. You all got to stick together because there are a lot of different products that are out there. And we're all looking to make DeFi accessible. So thanks for joining us today, Robert. We'll see you next week, 1 p.m. Eastern, for another panel with some new friends, some guests coming with us that couldn't make it today, a little bit too short a notice because they just flew back from Denver, but got a lot of new friends coming next week. Maybe we'll have Robert back as well, depending on his schedule. But until then, we'll see you later, as we say here. 07. Beacons up, banks down. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.